this was the extent of my drawing as a kid. I loved to doodle. I love to do animals and their natural habitat. As you can see here, this is a red cardinal sitting on a branch. You can see the sky up above and the dirt down below and grass, I think. This was the extent of my art when I was really young. You might be wondering how I got from a doodle such as this to oil painting like this. Well, when I was around 9 or 10 years old, my mom noticed how much I loved to doodle. So she put me in an art class, and I remember we would sit there for an hour or two, and the teacher would teach us how to do mostly still lifes, which is a drawing of a vase or a cup or a bowl of fruit. And eventually in that class, I completed this picture of a house or cabin, and I used a pen and I did the different textures, and I remember being very surprised with myself that I was able to do that when I was 10. And I was really pleased with myself. I really struggled with the picture, and I was happy with it by the end. Well, eventually I stopped taking the class and I continued on with school, and I didn't really do art anymore. I occasionally drew at home, but not a whole lot. And then by the time I was in 7th grade, my school offered an art class. And I thought, hey, that might be kind of fun. I enjoyed doing art when I was younger. So I joined the art class, and on the first day she told us, get out pencil and paper and draw your hand. And I thought, oh, that's really hard. And I did not have confidence in myself. I thought, I know I did some when I was 10, but now I'm in junior high and I haven't really done anything with my art and I don't know where to begin. So I got out the pencil and paper and I struggled with it, and I studied my hand and I looked at it and I was sketching it, and by the end of it I realized I surprised myself, and I really liked how I did the shading and the different details on it. I went home and I showed my parents and I was like, Mom, Dad, look at my picture, doesn't it look like my hand? And I loved the art class. I loved it, and eventually we moved on to different mediums. She introduced us to art and taught us about Impressionism and Monet and Van Gogh, and that's where I got my inspiration, is from learning from the masters and trying their pictures. And eventually I got to painting one of Monet's pictures, copying it, and I really struggled with it the whole way through. It's the girl with the parasol. I struggled with this picture so much. I spent many hours on it, painting over and painting over and painting over when I didn't like the color. By the end of it, I was really surprised with myself, and I loved it, and I was so happy, and I couldn't believe I had done that. So I continued doing other pictures, copying other artist pictures, Starry Night, and photographs I would copy. And I loved painting, and I did most of that with acrylic. Well, eventually I stopped doing that art class. I did another one in 8th grade, maybe 9th. And then I stopped doing it. I got busy with my school, and I did some at home occasionally, but not really. Then a friend told me about, when I was a senior in high school, a friend told me about an art class she was taking at an older woman's house. You'd go for 2 hours, and you'd sit down and she'd coach you through how to paint or draw whatever you wanted to complete. I thought, okay, that might be kind of fun, so I joined it, and I tried some different mediums, watercolor and multimedia, watercolor and acrylic. And eventually I got to oil painting, and I loved it, and I did so many pictures in oil paints. I loved how loud the colors were. And then I decided I wanted a challenge, so I found in a calendar a normal picture of a sunset, nothing really about it. And I decided I wanted to put my own style on it, just like Van Gogh and Monet did. So I opened up a book from one of Van Gogh's paintings, and I studied it, and then I applied it to my own picture. As you can see here, it has very loud colors, it has different textures. The cloud kind of looks like a flame. Over here is more smooth, and then down here it's more ripply with different strokes of colors, and the paint sticks up a bit. And I spent about 10 hours on this, 10-12 hours, and I surprised myself. I loved it. I thought, wow, I can't believe I did this. I do art because I love it. It's a passion of mine. It's how I express myself. It's how I relax at the end of the day. And anyone else out there who has a passion, I encourage you to work through it and overcome any struggles with it. And I believe you will surprise yourself.